Hello and welcome back. This is week 3 of learning how to draw packaging. So at this point now, we have already had a look at drawing using tonal shading, and you should have completed a page, something like this, where we've done some quick drawings. We've learned a few different techniques, including continuous line drawing and then a simple line drawing. You've done a tonal shaded grid, and then you've completed a high quality small sketch with tonal shading using the lessons that you've learned there. The next step that we did in week 2 was we looked at using colour and tonal shading to add and apply creases to a packaging design when you're drawing packaging. Something along the lines of this, but yours will be complete. And today we're going to move on and look at working with more than one item of packaging. And we're going to be introduced to composition and what you need to create a successful and interesting looking still life composition. So as you can see in front of me, just to the right of my screen here, I've selected 4 items, just items that I had in the kitchen. As you can see, the Dib Dab packet actually features in my drawings already, so it would be quite nice if you do have that item, because then it shows a link between each project and how you developed your skill. If not, don't worry. So the first thing that you've got to consider when you are selecting your packaging items is you want to add and find some different shapes and sizes to your composition. So composition just basically means an arrangement of items. Okay, an arrangement of items that you have set up. And still life refers to things that don't move. So something that is still and doesn't move. So this is called a still life composition. And you can have obviously lots of different variations on this. We are just working with packaging materials and packets and things today. So as you can see, if you look closely here, my composition just in the corner, I've used crisps that has not been emptied, so it's quite a full packet because it's got air in it and it gives it a bit of movement, so it makes it interesting. So those are the focal point of the composition because they are right in the middle, so they're the focal point. Along with that, I've used a tea bags box, and I've used that because it's quite long in length. It's got quite a nice width to it, so I've used it because it's got a nice width. It's the kind of largest item that I've used, and it also acts as a balance to put my crisps and other items on. So that is the widest part of my composition. I've then used a can, and I've used that because it gives my composition some height. And it gives it an interesting shape because it's got rounded features. So it means that it's different from the box, which is rectangle. The crisp packet is obviously kind of a construed shape. It's not quite flat. I've actually manipulated it because it's got the air in it to make an interesting kind of shape. And I've wrapped it around the bottle so it fits quite nicely. It makes an interesting composition. And then I've used my Dib Dab packet just in the foreground, so the foreground is the front. And that, again, that shape can be manipulated because it has got air in the packet. So it's quite interesting to think about this, consider this. You know, if you are going to use a bottle or a can, maybe only use 1 or 2. Now, my composition is going to be landscape, so going that way, not going portrait, going down. So it's going horizontally, which is going that way, okay, because most of my items don't have too much height, but they have a lot of width. So if you were doing lots of bottles, you would do yours going down portrait, okay? So that is something to consider today. Now, as you can see, I've arranged my items in a specific way. I've played with this for quite a long time just to get this right, and I've just discussed the choice for these items, okay? And the box acts as a way of balancing the other items, and then I've chosen things that have got quite solid shapes. So I've chosen 4 items. Now you can choose anywhere between 3 to 6 items. If I were you, I wouldn't overcomplicate it. Yeah, this is the first time we're doing this. Maybe draw 1 complex item, but keep the rest fairly simple. And we don't want too much detail necessarily because we're really focusing on this idea of drawing multiple items in an interesting way. So we're going to start today. We're going to start by just creating 2 different short drawings. Now, as you can see in front of me, I've got my 2 images from last week, and then the images along the bottom here, these are my images that I have practiced and what you are going to in fact be doing in the lesson today. So I'm going to take this image first. Now this drawing is a really, really quick drawing of my composition. Now I've drawn this from a couple of different angles, and I just did this on scrap paper just to basically get some movement in my work, and I've measured out the different points, because when you're drawing composition, it is very, very important to get the shape of things before you start adding decoration. And as you can see in both the drawings that I've just showed you, I've worked very, very quickly and added very, very sketchy, quick lines to my work. And the reason I've done this is because actually it helps you focus less on the detail and more on the shapes that you are drawing in front of you. And it helps you get the scale, which means size, correct in your composition. So we're looking at scale as well today. So you've now got your composition ready. You've had a good play around. You might want to take 1 or 2 pictures if you're going to come back to this if you don't get it all finished. Or you can just get straight on with it like I have now. So both of these drawings, this one here is, again, like I said, quite sketchy and got more rough lines. Now this drawing is called a continuous line drawing. This is something that we've actually had a look at previously and we're going to continue to use today. So you're going to spend 5 minutes very, very quickly sketching out your composition. Now I'm not going to go from the beginning, but what I am going to do is just show you in front of me how I would go about that. So you should have a pencil or a couple of pencils, a rubber and a sharpener. Make sure your pencil is super sharp before you start always. And then I'm just going to make sure I'm working flat. My composition is on a flat area as well. And what I am going to do is I am going to really, really quickly just sketch out the key shapes that I can see in front of me. So a continuous line drawing means you do not take your pencil off the page. I'm keeping it on the page as much as I can, but still being really, really sketchy. And as you can see, by doing that, it helps you really build up just the shapes. So just spend 5 minutes. Look at where the highest point of your drawing is first. In my case, my crisp packet is the highest. It's the furthest away from me. It looks higher than the others, furthest away. So what I would do is I would start with that point first. So I might do a dot on the page. I might then actually do another dot and map out where my second tallest thing is, which is actually my can. So that would be there. And then I'm looking again. I think my corner of my Dib Dab packet is the next. So I'm building up the points of where things should go. And then below that is my tea bag box. It's a bit further away, but it is one of my lower points. And then I've got my lower points, again, being the Dib Dab packet is the lowest because it's closest to me. In the middle is the can here. And then right in the middle there again, furthest back, is my tea bags. So map out your shapes when you're doing this. Do a really, really quick sketch that focuses on just these shapes. I've not added any detail yet. So spend 5 minutes doing that with a continuous line drawing. And then I want you to start to do the same thing again, but by just doing a simple line drawing again as a sketch. And those 2 exercises are designed to help you focus on getting the shapes right before you add any detail to your design. Like I said, this is something that we have had a look at already. So it is you just practicing, focusing on drawing where each of these shapes should go. Take care when you're doing this. Think about that highest point and that lowest point. Map them out really sketchy and really carefully first. Once you've done those 2 drawings, so I'm expecting 5 minutes for a continuous line drawing and 5 minutes for just a line drawing, the outline of your shapes with no detail. So that's 10 minutes. You are then, like here, going to move on to your final drawing. Now, that's a practice one I've got on the left, but on the right is my final drawing. I don't mind if you do several practice ones. It is up to you, but I've designed this task to do 2 drawings, continuous line and line drawing, and then a final drawing, which you then will colour in, and that will take you a little bit of time. And you can either colour that in with tonal shading or with colour pencils like I've done and like we did previously last lesson. I don't mind, as long as you show that you're putting all of these skills that we've developed over the last several weeks together. So I have done exactly the same thing here with my drawing. I have sketched out, using this continuous line process, there's lots of thick lines, and that's because I know that I'm colouring it in and I know that I'm shading it in. So I can afford to do that with my drawing. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the most perfect lines at this point. This is why it's important to have a rubber handy if you've got one, because what I will then do is I will rub out where I've gone over the lines here, and I will rub it out as I'm going along. As you can see, I've outlined mine in pen. You don't have to do that, depends on what material you work in, but it might be before you start to build up the inside structure that you outline it in a darker shade to help you keep that structure. But that is entirely up to you. I just find it easier so I know that everything is kept in composition, but you don't want to make it too dark because on the inside of your drawing, you're going to need to blend your colours in. So now I've got my outline. I've spent around 15 minutes just drawing that to perfection before I even think about adding any detail. And now it might take you a little bit longer. But what I'm going to do now is I've decided that I am going to use a coloured pencil, and I'm going to start to colour this in now and start to get in some of the shapes and textures of my composition. So I can see here, if I look closely at my composition, if we just look here, my Dib Dab is bright yellows and oranges. I've got my red in my crisp packet and the green and the blue in the boxes and in my my tin can here. So you don't have to do your colours exactly accurate, but it does help. It does help to get this representation of what you've drawn in front of you. But if you want to change it a little bit, or you're doing it in grey pencil, that is fine. But in a minute now, I will talk about shading and how you're going to add shade and tone to a composition, to more than one item, because it is a little bit different from when you're drawing just that one item that we did last lesson. Okay, so for this lesson, this is all that I expect of you today. We're going to leave it until next lesson to add colour to our design. Now, as you can see, my design, I've done it on about half of an A4 page. I would quite like you to do yours so it fills an entire A4 page, similar to when we did our design last week. So I'd quite like this design to fill an entire A4 page. Even though I've done mine smaller, it's just to show you. So I want a nice big design. Again, think about whether it needs to be this way up, which is portrait, if you've got taller items to draw, or landscape, which is this way, like I've done, because mine, the box is the length, and most of my items go to the length of it that way. So today, you're just going to get to this point where you've done a quick few sketches here. Okay, so 5-10 minutes. Spend 10 minutes watching the video. Setting your area up as well, because you need to collect your items. That's going to take another 5 minutes. And then I want you to spend a good half an hour or so just sketching out your composition. And then next lesson, I'm going to talk about tone and shade and adding colour to your design when you're drawing more than one or multiple items. So what you need to do now is you need to get your items, select everything you need, have a pencil that's sharpened or a sharpener with you and a rubber ready, and then you can get started on drawing your composition. Please make sure going forward that you take on board this advice, that you've got different subjects, okay, different sizes, different interesting packaging items. You've placed it in an interesting arrangement that you've considered. You've thought about the angle that you're drawing it from. You've looked at considering working quite quickly and sketchily, like my designs. And you've also got nothing obstructing the background of your drawing. I don't want anything in the background, otherwise it's going to be difficult for you to view and to draw, and it's going to be a little bit complex and stressful to draw. So keep it simple, the space around your drawing. Take a photo if you find it easier, or just work on a flat surface on a table or on the floor like I've done, where there's nothing in the background obstructing it, because it's going to be easier to draw. Simplify it. Really focus on the shapes when you're drawing, okay? Make sure that you've selected quite simple and different shapes to make it easier to block out. Don't add the detail yet today. We're going to look at doing that next lesson. So just get to this point today, please, okay? I hope you get on well with this task. If you have any problems, please send me a message online or send me an email as well. good luck with this task. I'm looking forward to seeing this halfway point outcome. So when you've finished this, please just send me the drawing like this as it is. Okay, so take a picture of it and just send it to me like this today. But I want yours to fill the entire page, either that way or that way. So just take a picture of that point. Yeah, that's all I need today. And then next week, I'll show you how to add the colour, tone and shading when lighting and things to this. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.